Welcome to the UKOCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UKOCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Greetings, friends, acquaintances, and anyone else who just happens to be listening. Welcome to another edition of the UKOCR podcast. Hopefully, the editing on this one is going to be much better than the editing on the Swift half at the weekend. Don't know where we got the silence from at the beginning, and then you hear our little part about us being a great podcast, which was underneath me and Ian talking. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. My copy on my computer sounds really good. Unfortunately, the one that got uploaded to our podcast provider and got shared out there wasn't so good. So don't know what happened. Before we go into today's podcast though, I want to talk about our mental health. So I'm not going to dwell on it, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. Us as athletes, and I'll use the term athletes loosely because everyone's an athlete in my eyes who does OCR, we suffer from injury once or twice, and our mental health sort of deteriorates. We do all the running, all those endorphins are pumped up, and we're happy a lot of the time, and we go through life, we face the challenges, we overcome them challenges. Sometimes when we're not running, those challenges can get on top of us, and we all need a little bit of help, which leads me to what Rick Burgess and Raw Fit are doing at this moment in time. So they are doing a challenge. Yeah, and it's not really a challenge for most of us, because all you've got to do is walk or run 5 kilometres. Yeah, and it's in aid of SANE. Now, SANE, mental health charity, and it's all in aid of them. It's only £10. Now, you know me, I always do things like this. I loved it when James Burton did the Wolfpack 100. This is another thing. Like I say, it's not a challenge, but it's £10. You get a little Raw Fit wristband, a little SANE wristband, but then you get a little metal pin badge as well. And for everyone that you pay, that you sign up for, £6 of it will actually go to SANE, which is absolutely amazing. So I want you all to jump on it. Go search Raw Fit on Facebook. As I'm recording this on a Sunday, it's about the 4th post down. I'm sure it'll boost it up as days go on. It's only a tenner, guys. Let's jump on it. Let's help. If we only help one person, just think how that's a difference. That's a difference. Helping one person is a difference, and that's what we're here to do. Anyway, that actually leads me on to someone we've got on the show today who helps loads of people. Wendy Brothers is on the show today. I've met her before, so we've talked once or twice before, not often. I think prior to this one we'd had about 3 conversations, but met her down at the awards. Really, really nice person. We got talking, and she said a few little things to me that I remember that stuck in my head, and I thought, let's get her on. Let's find out Wendy's story. So, yeah, Wendy's story. Here it is, folks. Wendy Brothers, we are chatting on, I'm going to put a date on this because I'm going to quickly talk about, we've just been talking about 16th of March 2023. It's not going to go out for a few weeks, but we've just been talking about the Barclays and things like that off air. Where are you in the stage of running at this moment in time? Because I say that out there in running, you've got the people who run 5K, the people who run 10K, the people who run half marathons, and then the ultras. Where's your stage at this moment in time?
About 10K is a good one for me. So sometimes I'll do the park runs, I'll do trail runs of 5K, I'll go up to 15. Generally around 10, 12 is good for me. My huge challenge this year is somehow I have signed up for Man v Coast, 40 kilometres in July, which is a massive undertaking for me. I've never done anything like that in my life. So that's my target for this year.
Oh, wow. How are you training for that? What's your training plan?
Well, yesterday I went buying shoes. That seemed like a good option. I went round to visit a friend to go training together, and she said she was talking about shoes, and she goes to this place that they measure and they take videos of you and all the rest of it. And I have only ever bought shoes off the internet, which could be why I lose toenails and generally have a lot of problems with my feet. And I came out of that visit with 3 new pairs of shoes, so that should help this year.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was quite eye-opening. I do short runs, probably 3-4 times a week, and my main training is just going to events at the weekends. So my races are my training. I also do a couple of TT sessions and various things at home as well. But yeah, the weekends are my big training sessions.
I mean, you're at every race, aren't you? I mean, I think
Not quite, can't fit them all in,
I
but
see a picture.
I mean, my calendar is fairly packed. I will admit that. Yes, it's a busy calendar, and yeah, that's why it's kind of my training rather than because that's what I do pretty much every weekend. So, and many weekends, both days, either going somewhere for training or for an actual race. So one way or the other. Yeah, I think as far as my main target is for every race is completion. As long as I can complete and try to do the obstacles to the best of my ability, which is not completion on all obstacles, but trying always to progress and do more than I've done before. That's my target. And I have not yet failed to finish a race, although Spartan Euro Championship last year, the shoes was relevant. Both my pairs of OCR shoes broke the weekend before the race. I ordered a pair on the internet, which arrived on Friday, and I got 2 kilometres into 21 kilometres and took them off and carried them for the rest of the race. And yes, I did finish.
You ran the whole race barefooted.
19 kilometres of Spartan Euros, Pippingford Park, in my socks. Got my medal. Probably wasn't the wisest thing I've ever done because I struggled with the races. I still have a little bit of niggles from that, so calves are still slightly niggly. It certainly destroyed my chances at Battle of Lansdowne and Challenge Cup because I couldn't run. So yeah, not the brightest thing I've ever done, but I did not fail the race. I have never failed to finish. So that's my target is completion.
Good. That's good. So what shoes have you bought then? So because everyone knows I'm a shoe fan. I'm a massive shoe fan.
Right. Well, I've never heard of them before, and I should have done. Ultra.
Ultra. Yeah, Ultra. Yeah.
Yes. So 2 pairs of Ultra and 1 pair of Lone. No, I should have checked the box, shouldn't I?
Lone Peak. Ultra.
Yes,
Lone Peak.
that's it. That's the ones. Yes. So they're trail
I told you
runners.
I'm a shoe geek. When it comes to shoes, I'm a geek about them.
Well, I have only ever bought Innovates for all of my races before, and it has been off the internet or just buying them at races without proper advice. So I've had some very good ones, and I've had some that I have very wide feet, and I have learned now to look for the width as well as the length. But yes, yeah. So
Ultra are one of the widest because the toe box are designed for ultra running. So they do very much a wide toe box for ultra running.
I grew up. My childhood was spent in the Caribbean, sailing rather than on feet. And I had 1 pair of shoes for 5 years because I never wore shoes. So I was very much grew up barefoot, and as a result, I have very wide feet.
Oh wow! Where in the Caribbean did you live?
Everywhere. We lived on a boat. So
did you really?
17 years, yes. So yeah, that's why not done a lot of running until I was my mid-50s.
Lots of swimming.
Lots of swimming. I can swim, I can sail, I can row. I can fish. I can do a lot of diving, yes, but snorkeling, all those things. Windsurfing, all of spinnaker flying, all of those sorts of things. But running is very, very, very recent.
I'm going to go back to yachting though. Was it yachting or was it boating? Because there's different kinds.
The Caribbean was yachting, and then later on in life I had a motorboat. So, but a bit of both, and that was in the Mediterranean.
Wow, amazing! What was the best place you went to?
Oh, I loved Antigua. Absolutely loved Antigua. Antigua kind of had everything. I was maybe not the best behaved youngster, and on one occasion, I made friends with a girl who lived there. Think I was already in trouble for something, and her dad said, "Oh, I'm going off." He was an archaeologist, and he said, "We're going to go to the dig to see all the the remains from the Indians that lived there." He said, "Do you want to come?" So I jumped in the Land Rover and went. I was there all day and wondered why my parents were cross when I got home eventually. I had no idea where I'd gone for the day. I was about 11 at the time.
Oh, wow. It must have been free, though. I mean, it must have been like a free living, though, living on a boat like that, rather than someone like, I mean, I was brought up in a house, so you're the same four walls all the time, the same view, the same people, the same friends. If you was touring around the Caribbean with your parents, you must have had some amazing adventures, met some amazing friends.
And yes, and one of the nice things was you'd sometimes meet another family who had children of similar ages, and then you might cruise in company for a few months. So actually, some of the people I might spend quite a bit of time with. And I did have a brother 1 year younger than me. So there was other teenagers around as we were growing up. We did a lot of camping on desert islands and things like that.
Wow. So what made you settle down then? Because to me, I mean, that is I'm going to say this might be opposite, because that to me would be a dream life. You tell me.
It was a dream life. Yeah. It was a dream life, and it was very good. I had children and came back to England and raised my children here. So and then became a little bit slightly more conventional, not very, but slightly more conventional. Went to uni, got a job, all of those sorts of things. So yeah.
What did you study at uni?
First degree sociology, second degree ecology, and then my PGCE. So I'm a teacher. So
right. You lost me at ecology. I'm thinking that's it, and then the last one I was like, I have no idea what that was.
And it is ironic, having never been to school myself, that I ended up as a teacher. So yes, completely different pathways.
So you was like homeschooled? Well,
I was, yes.
Homeschooled on a boat.
Yes.
What was that like? Did you have like proper lessons, or was it as and when? Or
so my mother was a teacher and my father was an accountant. So my mother was English, my father maths. I had the correspondence courses. So it was quite structured. We worked 9 till 1 every day because my parents couldn't work out which day of the week it was. So it was easier just do it every day. And then unless there was something exciting going on, or we were at sea, and then we didn't. But no, if we were somewhere like New York and we were going out for the day, then obviously lessons would be put aside while we were doing something more interesting, because that's also educational.
Absolutely amazing. What was the longest voyage you did?
The Atlantic the first time. That was the Canary Islands to Barbados. But coming back, we stopped in Bermuda, so it was and the Azores, so it was a shorter passage.
Was you not frightened of getting lost in the triangle in the Bermuda?
No, not really. We did have a typhoon when we were out at sea in near Bermuda, which was quite scary. That was all sails down and run before it. That was quite scary. And in New York, we had a hurricane.
Oh, wow.
Which is not where you'd expect it. So,
you must have you sailed the whole world then?
No, started in England and then sailed around to the Caribbean, the States, and then 10 years in the Mediterranean and back to England.
Oh, wow, amazing. That's an amazing life. See, that's something. I said you'd have a story when we started, and I guess a lot of my listeners are not even going to know that. That's like an amazing. We didn't even find that out in our research.
So, yeah, it's a long way off OCR, of course.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago.
It's a great story. What when you came back, then you had university, children, and things like that. Where did you find OCR? How did you find OCR?
So OCR is extremely random, very random indeed. I started going to a gym when I was about 50-ish and made friends at the gym. And we decided as a group that we would go and do nuclear. So 7 of us went to do nuclear, and we had an enormously amount of fun, thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. We were 4.5 hours going around 12K. And it was all the things I love. I grew up before I went to the Caribbean, I was sailing in Tolsbury in Essex, lots of mud, lots of things like that. I like mud, and nuclear has lots of mud. So thoroughly enjoyed it. So the next one, I went back, and the group was a little bit smaller, and then we went back in November, and then 2018, there was less of us in the group, but I kept going back, and I somehow accidentally qualified for the World Championship. I have no idea how, at Judgment Day. So obviously, I was then completely hooked. Same thing happened the following year, and by that stage, I was absolutely hooked, and really then started things like the Road to Worlds at PT Barn, and really started getting into going to lots of training places and learning a little bit. At that stage, I was having a lot of minor injuries because kind of doing my own thing, knowing absolutely no idea what I was doing at all. I had continuously had minor injuries, which held me back a lot. I have a lot less injuries. I wouldn't say I don't have any anymore, but I have a lot less than I used to. And I have learned an awful lot along the way. So I now know a great deal more than I did 6 years ago.
And we're similar ages. And do you find now that the injuries, they're not tend to be big injuries, but they tend to be little niggles, and they take a little bit longer to recover from?
I have a slightly interesting thing, but apart from one big injury 20 years ago, I haven't really done anything that caused me to have injuries until my 50s. So because I never really did anything physical, I actually find... So at the moment, I'm the fittest I've ever been in my life, which is, it's quite exciting, because when I do something now, it is for the very first time ever, which I think when I talk to friends in their 40s who I feel it's quite difficult that when they were in their 20s, they could do this and now they can't. Whereas I'm the other way around. I've never been able to do the things that I can now do. So yes, I do find injuries take longer to heal than they would for other people, but I've never known anything else. So that's for me normal. I just try really hard not to get so many injuries.
Yeah. But when you was in the gym, part of what we've seen is that you used to do calisthenics. Is that right?
Well, I couldn't say.
Calisthenics? Is that?
Yes.
I can never say that word personally.
Calisthenics. No. Oh, my goodness, I normally can. Yes. Again, not something I'm particularly good at, but yes, I also used to go to gymnastics with the same group of friends, and I used to do a lot of standing on my head and that sort of thing. So I suppose it was learning to try and do things, those sorts of things. But yeah, they're hard.
It used to be quite big, didn't it? I'd say about 10 years ago, it was like quite big in the gyms and that. That's when you got into it?
So I first went to the gym in 2014. Right. So yes, that is virtually 10 years ago. Yeah.
And do you still do any of it now?
No, at the moment I'm following the PT Barn Road to Worlds program. I do have monkey bars at home, and so I do quite a bit of my training at home.
Right. Well, tell me more about the Road to the Worlds and what's
Road to Worlds is a program. It's absolutely superb, and I have done it for the last 5 years. It's a program that is set up for people who are aiming to go to the World Championship in OCR. It's a small group which go several times in the run-up, and it's done at different levels. So, your top athletes would be in the A group, and then there might be 2 groups, there might be 5 groups, depending on how it's going. They're quite small and very individualized, but they're also set by ability. So it works for everybody at their own level. So I am the bottom of my group, but it's manageable, and it's sufficiently individualized that I get success from what I can do. Everything's aimed at where you are moving forward. And the other thing I would say is I've never been injured at that class, so that's quite an achievement, and I have had quite a lot of successes.
Yeah. Does Scotty? I know Tony Leary does it as
yes, the two of them do it together. Yeah, so it's at Scotty's place, and they work together to teach it, and it's fairly small groups.
Right. So it's all there. Do you take anything away from it? Do they give you like a
Yes.
little plan
So
to take away?
I have a training program which has all the different, and it changes. So I had a training program through the winter, which was working on building on my base. And it's now a training program which is far more, a lot of it's grip based at the moment, trying to get grip. The last Road to World session, I managed my first ever transition from 2 rings to the third ring on my good arm. I still can't do it on the left arm, but no, that was a huge breakthrough for me. And a lot of those breakthroughs do happen in sessions because it is teaching you as we go.
Yeah. Is it very, when you go down there, is it very much for yourself technique based then, as opposed to you're going to get the competitive runners who can muscle through a lot of obstacles?
It's very much technique. So I mean, I've watched the more able athletes, and yeah, it's very much teaching them the techniques that they might already be able to do it, but then teaching them the techniques. What happens if it pours with rain, as it did in 2019? What's a different technique that you can use that will get you through when your normal technique doesn't work? What about if in this situation, can you chicken wing it if you have to? And people who don't normally do that, actually learning how to do that is quite a useful technique. But it's also learning the efficient method of getting through that. Yes, you can do it by using muscle, by using brute strength, but is there a method of doing it that gets you through quicker or gets you through using less energy? So it's really learning techniques that help. And it is
me and Tony Leary we went to I don't think I've ever told this story, but me and Tony Leary, we were at Tough Guy once at a training session. Mm-hmm. I'd gone down to do a little bit of messing around, a little bit of filming, and he was down there doing some training, and we were talking about going over walls. So at Tough Guy, they had some walls that were built out of telegraph poles piled on the top of each other, and they were about 5 foot high, 6 foot high. We were talking about the fastest technique to go over them, and I would say I taught Tony my technique, and he was quite pleased with it, because the way I do it is just literally put my chest on it, roll, but then as you're coming off the other side, you twist. So as most people, they would roll over with the chest, they would land with their feet down facing the wall.
Yes.
If you twist, you can actually just turn and be ready and running. Whereas Tony was jumping up, feet on the top, then jumping down, using a lot of energy. And I know he used it once, so I was like, I taught Tony Leary something.
That is excellent. I will actually ask Tony if he can teach me that one. He probably already has. I don't always remember everything.
You can't do it on the big walls. It's only on certain size walls.
I can't do big walls. No,
you can,
not yet. That's a work in progress.
Yeah. So I can always say I taught a world champion something. Was one of my claims to fame. Now, you're very active in Southeast in OCR. You know, like we just said earlier, you go to a lot of races. How do you track that? Are you very old school tracking the races you go to? As in, do you have a calendar, or are you very much...
Well, I have a calendar on my phone. No, I'm not. I mean, I am a teacher. I am fairly organised, moderately organised. I'm also extremely busy with many other things apart from OCR. So, I don't always get it right. But yeah, I have everything on my calendar on my phone. And I also have a list of all the dates, literally just a list on my phone. So when somebody says, and I also carry an awful lot in my head. So if somebody says, shall we do something on that date, I very rarely have to check what's going on that date. I do normally know. That's just one of those random things. My brain works like that.
I like that. So, I mean, like I said, you do so many, and I was wondering, you do much more than me. I think you do actually more of OCRs now than I did in my A-day.
Okay.
But you are very predominantly down south in that, but you came up to Total Warrior last year.
So, I mean, last year I went to Aberdeen, to Norway, to Oslo for the toughest, to America for Worlds, to Italy, to Mallorca for Spartan, so also to Wales for Penny Fan. So yeah, I do try to get around a bit. Battle of Lansdowne was west. Born Survivor, the week before Worlds, we do not discuss. That was a very, very long drive. I do try to get around and about.
That's what I was going to say. That last year you sent to travel everywhere. Last year it was literally wherever there was a race, when Wendy was going to be at it.
Well, I try. I can't get to all of them, but
How
I
many
try
did
to
you
go
do
as many
last
as possible.
year? How
I
many
have
was
never
it?
added it up. I probably should do. Yeah, I've probably got the list here, so probably could. To be honest, and it also it's variable because do you count things like brutal races, which are trail runs, or just the OCRs? Penny Fan was a trail run, not an obstacle course. So yes, I've never really added it up.
I do call them as in we talk about OCRs, and there's a definition. It's got to have a obstacle, but to me, something that's got natural obstacles to me is still what we do.
So I
believe,
I personally would count a brutal, but not a park run. That would be the way I would look at it.
Yeah, and I'm in agree with that. Yeah, that's probably right. You can't count a park run, but you can definitely count a brutal run. And I think anything like Penny Fan, if you was going to go up Penny Fan, and that's a challenge in its own right. Anything that challenges the norm is what we do, isn't it? That's what
I
it's
got
about.
lost there. They had to go looking for me. I went the wrong way, and it was there weren't that many people did it last year. It was quite a small group, so there wasn't like somebody I could follow, and the path went one way and I went one side of the hill, and no, apparently I should have gone the other way. So yeah, I did eventually realize it's about a kilometre added on, and then I thought, hang on a minute, don't think I've seen any signs for a while. I think I'd better go back. And when I got back, they were looking for me, but it happens.
That's amazing. Getting lost at Penny Fan, that must be scary, especially when you're running on your own. If you have no one with you.
No, I didn't. I sort of realised I'd gone wrong and turned around and went back and found that they were having a look for me, wondering where I'd got to. So it was all good.
I get lost quite a lot when I go. I do get lost when I go running because I like to explore different places and that. But I tend to have a pretty good sense of where I'm going. That would be the worst thing for me though. If I went to Penny Fan and I've never ran it, and I went up a path and I just didn't know where I was, I would
I turned around and went back. I mean, that was what I did. And that was the right answer, because when I went back, I then saw the sign that I missed. One of my problems is that I tend to be looking where I'm putting my feet rather than looking at signs. So I miss them. It does happen quite often. It's that fear of misplacing my foot and twisting my ankle and causing injuries. So I tend to be looking at where my feet are going rather than where I should be going.
What was the hardest race you did last year?
Oh, 4, I would say. I'll go for 3. Oblivion, definitely. Oblivion, because that is long and hard. I did 2 laps, and that is long and hard. I also injured my foot on the first one, so walked the second lap, so that was very long. Italy, up the mountains, that was hard, but America was harder. America was mentally difficult, because you go up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain. I think it was because they had it that you went down and then you went the other side of the tape back up again, and you went down and the other side and that I kept thinking, why am I going up and down, up and down, up and down? Can't we actually go somewhere different rather than up and down the same side of the same mountain? Which I think that was probably the hardest of all. And then you've probably heard the story of I got to the end and came round the corner and Jock shouted out that I was coming, and the whole of Team UK came out onto the course and high-fived me, cheered me on. That was my outstanding moment of last year. That was phenomenal.
And I mean, that's brought me onto a nice segue, as we've just recently had the awards. And you was voted runner-up in the OCR Personality of the Year. And it's that attitude that you go out there, you do your best at every race, you put yourself out there, that got you that second vote. How did you feel when you was named as runner-up?
Absolutely shocked. Speechless. I still don't even know what to say to all the people that voted for me, apart from thank you. I'm amazed. Don't have the words. Yeah.
Lots of words. I like how it's lots of words. What was your feedback? Have you given any feedback? Go on, give us some live feedback from the awards. What do we need to improve on?
I loved the awards.
We're not going to. I won't shout at you if you give me something bad.
I absolutely loved the awards. I think I would have liked having I would have liked a piece of paper to read rather than the screen, but apart from that, no, I absolutely loved the awards. I think one of the things that somebody on my table said, who are all these people? I don't know all the people in here. And I looked round, and no, I didn't know everybody, but every table I knew which group they represented. So if it was like Team Viper and Team Rumble together, I knew that was those two were on that table, or it was Toughest over there, or whatever. They might not be people I knew, but I knew who they were. And that was a really nice thing. So many people there, and it was such a wonderful atmosphere. And everybody was congratulating everybody and pleased. There's a huge sense of celebration of all the achievements, all the people who have worked so hard and put their heart and souls into their races and won awards. And then we were able to celebrate that. So that was amazing. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I did. I just wish we had nicer food, personally. That's my feedback, and I've given that.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah.
The food was all right, but we could have had nicer food, I think.
But you don't go to those places for the food.
No, the atmosphere afterwards was what made it for me.
Absolutely. And it was seeing everybody, and it was quite fun seeing everybody dressed up and all of that side of things as well. And it was just actually really lovely having so many people from so many different aspects of OCR all gathered together. And I liked the range, from the youngest to oldest. There was a huge range of people from every branch of OCR, and from not just the athletes, but all the people who are behind the scenes, all the volunteers, the technical officers, lots and lots of different people, RDs, all the people that make it happen.
Everyone pulled together, irrelevant if it was from all different areas. Some people don't know, but behind the scenes, we had all these goodie bags, and Stephen Feld brought all these Voom bars from Zoom down to put in the goodie bags. So we had 120 goodie bags, and it was literally there 5 minutes before we opened the doors. And I got as many people in as we could, stuffing these bags with Voom bars, and everyone just mucked in and helped. And it was like, yes, we got it all done. Just going to quickly touch base. You talked about Judgment Day 2018. You qualified for the Worlds at Judgment Day. What do you remember about Judgment Day then? Because this was a tough race. There was
something I don't know. I think I was thinner in those days. I was faster, so my running was better then. And Judgment Day was mostly a running race, and it was off. I've never been any good with roads. I prefer off road, and it just worked. And the obstacles were not that hard. They were things like jumping onto a inflatable something or other. So it was a high wall, and it was the fear factor of jumping onto, I don't know if it was a mat, or I think it was an inflatable mat thing. Most of the obstacles were not, they weren't technical. They were things that I could actually do, which and also, I did win, but not particularly because I beat somebody, but because I was the only person in my age group. So that does help.
Yeah, that does help. Well, how do you think the way OCR is going now? So we took Judgment Day then, which was very much fun and very much doable obstacles. I personally think Nuclear's got it right. So I'm a big fan of Nuclear, and I'm a big fan of Nuts. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Nuts. They've got obstacles that suit both abilities. But what's your thoughts on sort of the way, I guess, the world OCR scene is going? It's going very much to, we talked about the road to the world 2 minutes ago with the rings and the low rigs, the high rigs. Europe's going to be well known for it. We're expecting it in the Europeans, and the worlds are going a little bit down that side a little bit more. What's your thoughts on that?
My personal thought is that the key word there is world. We are one country in 205 or however many countries there are in this world. Globally, the OCR is going down the technical obstacles, and therefore for the competitive races, I think we need to go that way. We need that the people who go to Europeans, who go to World Championships, need to be of a caliber to compete with other nationalities. And I personally have booked my open race this year, and I think that is the way to go. No, that those of us who race primarily for fun and for fitness and for all the good things that go with it can go and race open. We can have all the fun, all the joy, but actually to represent your country, we need a higher caliber. And that, I think, is where we need to go. Within UK, absolutely fine. We can continue to do all the fun races, the nuclear nuts are good, and all the less competitive races. But on a world field, we need to be looking to a higher level. That's my opinion.
No, that's a great opinion. You're quite right. I mean, we all talk about it going down the technical side, and you said something a little bit earlier on that you went to the Worlds and you did every obstacle to the best of your ability. You didn't necessarily complete every obstacle.
No, I didn't.
But you did it to the best of your ability. And I guess that's what we forget in the back of his heads sometimes. And I've got to admit, I forget about it, that I think I've got to complete every obstacle, but you don't, not to have as much fun. Yes, you want to, and you're going to try it, but you don't have to. And as long as they keep some of those doable obstacles, I call them doable obstacles, for anyone, then that's what we really want. As long as there's a balance, I think there's a balance for me.
Yeah. I mean, I had a bad accident 18 years ago. I have limited mobility in my shoulders. I physically cannot do quite a lot of normal everyday things. I know that I can't. I will never be able to do some of the technical obstacles, and that's fine. That's where I am. I'm hugely better than I was. So it's looking at what I can do rather than what I can't do. So things like 2019, there was an obstacle whose name I have forgotten, but it was rope to rope to rope. And I was amazed I managed to do it. So that for me was a huge achievement. The fact that I couldn't do skitch, no, I'm never going to do skitch. That's not where I am. So it's looking at which one could I do rather than which ones couldn't I do.
No, I like that. That makes absolute sense. What's your thoughts on Tough Mudder? Because I've looked at your IG and I can't see no Tough Mudder pictures. So I'm like, are you a Tough Mudder virgin? Where are you with Tough Mudder?
Never been to a Tough Mudder in my life. No.
You need to change it.
I know nothing about them. That's no. I do listen to the podcast and I know a lot more than I used to. But no, I've never been to one. Yeah.
But you've been to a lot of Spartans, and
No, I haven't actually. I've only been to 2 Spartans. I've been to one in Mallorca, which was mostly because it was Easter holidays and good excuse to go to Mallorca, and the European Championships because in Mallorca for pretty much the same reason, because there was only 4 of us in my age group. I accidentally qualified for the Euros. I wasn't planning on competing there, but no, it happened, so therefore I went.
I think we're going to start a movement. Get Wendy up to Tough Mudder. Get Wendy to Tough Mudder. I'll get James to get you to crew for him at ETM. Because I think James is going to ETM, isn't he?
He is. I think he is, but no, I'm not. No, that's well beyond my. No, a normal everyday 10K, absolutely, yes, I'll give it a go, but not ETM. I don't have that stamina. No, and I'm not looking. In fairness, knees, hips, feet are never going to survive, a long. I don't think the sort of things that you do are definitely not something that I'm looking at ever.
But you've done Oblivion, and you've got a nuclear medallion, at least one medallion, haven't you?
I have most of them. I missed last year because I was at Oslo instead of Blast and Blackout. I've got quite a few nuclear. I've done Oblivion twice. But not very quickly. It's a polite way. I think the first one was 7 hours 20 minutes, and the second was 6 hours 20 minutes. So, yeah.
But the distance is still the same, whether it's a 10-minute mile or a 30-minute mile. You've still run a mile.
Well, true. Yeah.
That's how I see it. I want to talk about British obstacle sports. How did you get involved with British obstacle sports?
I haven't the faintest idea. I had a text, I think, from James Burton inviting me, and I said yes, and I think that's where it was. I wouldn't swear to it. That's where I think it started.
And what did he ask you? What did he just say? Just come and join British obstacle sports, or did he have?
So it was
something in
join
mind
the community committee to start with, and so I joined the community committee and attended meetings only a year ago. Attended the meetings and listened. No. Unusually for me, actually listened rather than talking to start with, and there was a need for somebody to do, I think there was some admin-y thing, so I did that, and then got involved with the British Obstacle Sports Stand, and then Martin Gemmell, having put an enormous amount of work into the British Obstacle Sport, had decided to stand down for a while, and asked me to take over as chairman of the committee. So that's where I am now.
What's your aim? I wouldn't say remit, but no, what's your aim? Because I think aim's a better word.
I would like to get British obstacle sport to the point where we get the magic number. So the magic number to get the funding and whatever else we need to be a legal sport. So very much driven on the membership side, but also trying to make it a really inclusive sport, because it's so positive. I think for many people, coming to OCR has been so good for our mental health, that we come into OCR, and it doesn't matter what level you come at. You come in and you run your race, and everybody is supportive, encouraging, celebrates what you can do, doesn't worry about what you can't do. And it's such a wonderful environment. It gets us out into nature. It gets us fitter, healthier. It's just really good, and I would like that to be available to a lot more people.
And I know you're going to a lot of races with the British Obstacle Sports Stand. I've seen that.
Yes,
that was at Nuts, and I know it's been at other places than that.
It's on its way to Tartan Warrior at the moment. So yes,
it's in transit to.
It's in transit. Yes, it's the organisation of trying to make sure it goes to the right place at the right time. It's difficult because I'm flying there, so obviously I never take luggage. I'm not one of these people that carries. I literally have my little tiny bag between my feet, and that's it. And it doesn't matter how long I go for, where I go to, I don't take luggage. So carrying stuff with me is not an option, and finding somebody with a car who's driving to Tartan Warrior from Nuts. But we got there. It was done.
You've completely blown my vision now, because I've got visions of, the Coca-Cola Christmas advert with the trucks that are going up the road. I've got visions of British obstacle sports trucks travelling up to Tartan Warrior.
That would be wonderful. No, that would be wonderful. But no, it is. Someone has them in her car and is driving them.
That's brilliant. Is there plans to go outside the OCR scene to recruit members? Because you're doing a lot of work in the community, and we work. UKOCR work with British Obstacle Sports as well, as much as we possibly can, and we help spread the word. Is there plans to go outside the OCR community to maybe attract people?
I think there's been conversations about it, and I think there's been conversations about it. I'm not personally involved in that at this point, apart from when I'm at Brutal, I tell everybody about it. But that's wherever I go, I talk to people. But that's as far as I go at the moment.
And that was the type of event I was thinking of. I was thinking along the Brutal side of it, because there is that crossover, isn't there? Last weekend there was Normanby Hall. It was over horse jumpy style obstacles, rather than man-made ones. And I know there's one called the Beast in the Midlands. There's these type of events that go off, around the country. Let's call them mud runs. In other words, the original OCRs, but mud runs now. There's a whole lot of people that go to these events that don't even know about OCR, and unless we spread the word, and that, I guess that's what I was thinking, is there plans maybe to go?
So there's been a fair bit of discussion of how to actually do this, whether it's successful to do leaflet drop, but it's trying to find the most effective method, whether that's having a stand, whether that's having leaflets put in entry packs. It's how to approach that, and that's still an ongoing discussion at the moment. But yes, that is definitely something that does need to happen.
Yeah, I like the leaflet idea, because you physically cannot go to every event, and there really isn't enough volunteers in British obstacle sports to attend all the events. The leaflet one sounds really good to me. I like that idea. It
is. We then get into the complications of leaflets are then more. They're not particularly ecological because people drop them straight away, and it's how effective they are. But it certainly is one of. There are pros and cons to every method that we think of. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, and I like the litter. You just brought the litter up there, because at the awards we used biodegradable card to print the little things that we put in the bags, because I'm very conscious about our carbon footprint at this moment in time. And I guess leaflets are probably a little bit, they're not carbon neutral unless they were printed on recycled paper, I guess. I don't know.
So it's something, I mean, certainly those are the sorts of things that would be thought about before we progress any further with that.
Yeah. So, Tartan Warrior this weekend?
Yes, next weekend, yes.
Next weekend?
Yes.
What's your plans? Are we doing all 3 events? Are we doing...
For
to
me
win the
personally,
3K, are you going to give Dan Titcombe a run for his money on the 3? Oh, Dan's not going now, is he?
He's not going now, unfortunately. So no, again, it is accepting what I can and what I can't do. The 100 metre, the 3K are very technical. They are correctly aimed at people looking at Euros and Worlds, which I'm perfectly happy with my Open. So I am technical officer for both of those events, and then I will go and run on the 8K.
Yeah. So the 8K is going to be your race. That's the one I'm going to see you winning AG then.
I'm not sure about that. I have a feeling there's some pretty good there's some ladies up in Scotland who are pretty fast. I mean, maybe next year I'll be 60, so next year maybe, but at the moment there's some pretty fast ladies in my age category. So we'll see. Depends who runs.
We are actually getting an older generation running very much so at this moment in time, aren't we? You know, it's
and that's a very British thing. Yeah. If you look at the so certainly with the World Championships last year, the success of Team UK, not entirely, obviously Dan Titcombe absolutely flies the flag for UK, but if you look at, I mean, obviously Barry Buchanan is under 40, but Louise Ferryman, Mark Dixon, including the 50 plus men, we have some absolutely amazing athletes. I think Rob Border's rather younger, but he was successful. Tony Leary. We have some really, really good athletes in the older age groups. Laura's not that old, but Laura Haywood, there's a lot of very, very good over 40.
30 plus. Shall we say 30 plus?
40 plus. There's and of course now the 40 plus this year includes some really good athletes. So Tamar Barclay's just gone up to 40 plus, Barry Buchanan, I believe, James Burton. So yeah, the 40 plus Brits are really, really good. European athletes seem to be, the younger ones are really good, tail off a bit as they get older.
As we talked earlier on, and the technical side and the non-technical, do you think that could be a lead to that? Because over in Europe, as we said earlier, very technical. So that attracts the youngers the younger people who want to do like Ninja Warrior and
but then if you look at the 100 metre in Gloucester, I mean Tony Leary did really well at that, and Rob Border as well. So yeah, I mean I think even the very technical ones, the older athletes are doing exceptionally well. We do have a lot of.
I was meaning more about when people start OCR in life. So people start over in the UK, we very much had the early doors was Tough Guy, Nuts, and Nuclear, as well as Tough Mudder. So it was very much mud orientated, nothing technical, just get from A to B. Where over in Europe, it started a little bit later than us, and it came through with Toughest, the Barbarian Race, things like that, which are very technical.
Yes.
They've always been technical.
And Toughest was very hard. And I think it'll be very interesting. In Tartan Warrior, I believe there are a few competitors who've come in from Ninja, and that will be a really interesting crossover. I don't think there's many, but there are a few. I did have a quick look through the start list earlier. And yeah, I think that could be quite interesting, seeing those that have started in Ninja and are now going to the 100 metre, to the 3K, less keen, having talked to, I did go to, I think I've been to a couple of Ninja competitions recently, and talking to people, they're not keen on going more than 3K, most of but it's interesting, and we'll see how they go.
Yeah, I do like it a little bit. I like the whole idea of different people doing different events. The Ninja people doing the 1K up to 3K, but then we've got the longer distance for I guess more running orientated athletes as opposed to.
And quite a few of our youngsters have come, certainly around this area, have come into OCR from Ninja. So it is an interesting, it's a different pathway. So they're very, very good on the obstacles, and then running then comes into it as well.
Maybe that's another thing for British obstacle sports. I'm just thinking there, we've got all the ninja gyms popping up. Some type of leaflet desk on, like when when you go into the airport and they have all these little things you can pull leaflets out, can't you? That would. I know you got to print them. That's carbon, but they don't get thrown away, would they?
So that's another thought. I will take that to the committee. Thank you. So yes, and yes, so ninja competitions is very much a growing part of British obstacle sports. I think there always have been, but we've now got some within our organisation as well.
Yeah, awesome. Before I let you go, I've got one question I wanted to ask, because I have never been in the presence of someone who has been the flag bearer for their country. Yet in 2022 at the European Championships, you were the flag bearer. How was that feeling to be chosen for that?
That was such an honour. Again, I was speechless when I was invited. That was absolutely incredible. And to be with the people that were with me and representing my country was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, who asked you to do it? I was interested. Who was the one? Was it voted on? Was it the peers that voted?
I don't know I don't know who chose. I have no idea who chose. I got a email, text. I'm not sure. I think James Burton, but I'm not sure.
Text message: Wendy, you're flag bearer. And
invited to be, yes. I'm not 100% sure who it was that invited me. It was definitely it was UKOSF.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That was
I was
when you was going down. How did it feel carrying it? And
absolutely unbelievable. It was just such an honour. To represent your country it's such a big deal in life. And never done anything like that before. So nearest I've ever had was escorting the Royal Yacht. Many years ago, I said I had a motorboat. She was ex-World War II, and for the 50th anniversary of D-Day, we managed to find her original captain, original first lieutenant, and took them over to Cherbourg to be part of the parade for the D-Day landings with President Reagan, I think, back then, and the Queen, and all sorts of really important people. And we were right at the front of the parade. We led another parade in Poole. Spent quite a lot of time in the Navy dockyard. So yes, there have been times of representing things. And the original captain still had the ensign that was flown on our boat in 1944 when she was shot by the Germans. And we got permission from Prince Philip to fly a white ensign on a private yacht, which you don't do, but just for that one day. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. How big was your yacht?
73 foot, 22 meters.
That's pretty big. That.
But she had guns and things. So she was a harbour defence motor launch in Navy days.
Wow, I've never met anyone who owned a boat that's had guns.
And if you want a really good story, I'm sure you've been to some of these very posh parties, cocktail parties, where everyone's trying to outdo each other. And I was, I don't know, early 20s. And there were these men who were absolutely full of themselves of my car's this, my car's that. So I said, well, my car's a Mini because it's the only one I can fit on my yacht. And it was. Because we could actually drive it onto the yacht, sail over to Morocco, drive it off again. It did really take the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, I can bet. That's got to be the best put down ever.
It was quite effective, and it was true. So therefore, there was nothing they could say to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
I'm very good at sorry, we're going way off OCR at the moment.
No, I like it. I like it. These are stories that people like. They don't always, everyone likes to listen to OCR, but everyone likes to listen to people's lives and get behind the scenes and that. But that's absolutely amazing. I'm gonna let you sail off into the sunset shortly. But before I do, I always say to my guests, Do you want to give a shout out to anyone? Thank you to anyone. You're free to do it and fire away. Fire away. You see that? I have got that bit in there as well.
So I'm going to go first of all to my PT, to Ramonis, who has been my PT for several years now, and I really owe him an awful lot of how I've got to where I've got to, mostly for support and encouragement when I do not believe in myself, and he encourages me to just try a little bit harder and keep going. Also to Jack Carpenter at Field Fit. I train there. I'm part of the team. We have team training, and he has also believed in me, kept me going, and helped me with my training. So that's more recent, but yeah, very much appreciated. So, and thank you to the multitude of people who have supported and encouraged me from day one and kept me going when it's been tough. And yeah, and there's an enormous number of people, I can't possibly name them all, but athletes, but also marshals, volunteers, technical officers who have all the training providers. I have been to many training centres and I have learned so much from all of them, so thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
So there you go, guys and girls. Wendy Brothers. I'm great to find out. You know, I would have known that she lived on a boat for years and years. I love finding out stories like that about people. Makes it all more fun. Just to let you know as well, after we recorded this, 'cause I recorded this and I said earlier on a couple of weeks ago, Wendy reached out to me that to let me know, if you remember the question I asked, what works well, how can Boss get more people in? And they'd actually gone out and done a stand at a recent Scouts obstacle course race event, and it was really successful. They met lots and lots of youngsters, parents, and many of them were really interested in attending events. So they reckon that's a really effective way and potentially environmentally friendly. But it does rely on members and volunteers for their time. So if you know of any small event that's going off, maybe you want to give your time up to British Obstacle Sports, yeah? Then get in touch with Wendy. I'm sure she'd appreciate it. I want to see if I can do one this year. I want to go to like just a local charity race and talk about British Obstacle Sports and the good things it does, as well as maybe talk about UKOCR a little bit. I kill two birds with one stone, don't I? Thank you for listening, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Don't forget, we have got shows coming. I've got a special coming out for you on Wednesday as well. I did hint about it on the Swift Arf, but it's going to go out this Wednesday. And it is me and Russell Walsh, followed by me and Gavin, followed by me and Kate Steelwell. All about Tartan Warrior, a bit of a catch-up, what they thought of the event. Yeah, and that's what it is. Oh, Lindsay McEwen drops in for one of them. More to follow. In the meantime, thank you for listening. You take care. I love you all. Bye.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. if you feel like I do right now. Don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar